मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शंकरं लोकशंकरं करं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। 25th पेज नंबर है ना? So 7th लाइन ना? ठीक है जी। शुक्ति का ही रजतवद अवभासते। So here the topic is this. Adhyasa doesn't imply any transformation. It's not the result of transformation. It must really become very serious in the mind. Adhyasa, an error or bhranti, doesn't mean any transformation. You know, when I mistake the rope for snake, neither there is transformation there, neither the rope transforms to become snake, nor there is some transformation in my mind. You can't say the rope is transformed, all right, not transformed, but something in your mind transforms. We don't experience any transformation, change. It is a distortion. Instead of seeing the rope, I see it for something else, snake. This is not transformation, this is distortion of one's vision, distortion of one's perception. This is the topic. Some people imagine that there is something changes. Some people imagine that the very Bhagavan himself transforms. That's too flawed. That's too bad. That's too bad a theory. That Bhagavan himself really undergoes some kind of change to look like the universe is a very bad theory. And some people think some ignorance in yourself, your ignorance about yourself transforms to become the world. Now ignorance also doesn't transform. Ignorance is meant always to distort a fact. Ignorance always distorts your perception about a fact. When I am ignorant of something, then that something, I don't think of it as, I think of something else. Then I have misconceptions. Ignorance leads to misconceptions. Ignorance leads to misconceptions. Ignorance itself doesn't change, transform. Thus these two theories have to be just, clinched as wrong, absolutely absurd. If it is some distortion, then I can make self-effort and correct it. If it is transformation, I can't reverse it. Changes cannot be reversed. I can't reverse my body to go back to infancy. If God has really changed to become the world, then what can I do about it? If my problems are due to Bhagavan's will, I can't do much, I can't solve them. If my problems are due to God's will, I can't solve them. If my problems are due to God's transformation, His transformation, I can't do much, I can't solve them. If my problems are due to the transformation of some ignorance in me, then also I can't solve. If my problems are due to a distortion in my perception, a certain misconception that I am carrying, if my problems are due to my misconceptions about myself, misconceptions can be corrected. I can solve my problems. Therefore, this topic must be taken very seriously, not just, like very, very casual information. No. How you respond to a point, that is what determines giving knowledge. If your casual response remains an information, it doesn't trigger, it doesn't really shock you. It doesn't inspire you. A casual response to any information doesn't inspire you. How serious is this point? That my problems are not due to God's will. They are also not due to some change in Bhagavan, God in the truth. They are also not due to any transformation on the part of my ignorance. They are just due to distortion, due to misconception, born of ignorance, of course. Then I become inspired to solve the problems. That is why here Bhagavan says, Shukti kahi rajata vadava bhasate iti. Bhashikara says, in our experience, we know when we see a shell as silver, we know it is the shell that looks like silver, or it is the shell that is misconceived, misconcluded, it is wrongly concluded as silver. It is not that the shell transforms to become silver. Neither the shell transforms to become the silver, nor something in my mind transforms and become the silver there. There is no change at all. It is just a distortion of perception. It's a misconception. Maybe this word misconception conveys better. Distortion. It's a misconception. Like when we all took, the earth is flat, it is a misconception. It is not the earth transformed to become flat. Nor is it true that something in my mind transformed to become a flat earth. No change. We used to think that the earth is flat. It's a misconception. It's a wrong notion due to ignorance. It's a notion born of ignorance. It's not a transformation of ignorance. It's a notion born of ignorance. Ignorance doesn't change. Ignorance distorts one's vision. In the same manner, when I look at myself as limited, is a misconception about myself. I am looking at myself all the time in terms of the form. I objectify the form and say I am this. But as the objectifier, I am other than the form. As the subject, I am other than the form. But I look at the form and say, this is me. I look at an object, say, this is mine. This is me and this is mine. This is me and this is mine. This is me and this is mine. The me is, the body is objectified, and the house also is objectified. As the objectifier, we exist aparoksham. Our existence is not in front of our sight. Our existence is in the form of the subject, aparoksham. It's very aparoksham. Our existence is not in front of our thinking. Our existence is behind our thinking. I mean, in a manner of speaking, behind. Thinking presupposes our existence. Our existence doesn't presuppose our thinking. Therefore, so the sense of limitation is a misconception about one's nature. Like silver is a misconception about the shell. Snake is a misconception about the rope. Mirage water is a misconception about the sand. Blueness is a misconception about the sky. I conclude that the sky is blue. Yes, I see the blue color, but it is not an attribute of the sky. It is colorless. If I conclude that it has a color, then it is a misconception. Just as we live with so many misconceptions in day-to-day life, we also live with a misconception about ourselves. Whole life is a misconception. We don't have misconception in life. The very birth is a misconception. Birth is nothing but the notion that I am a form. What else? I am this body. I am this body is a misconception which becomes now manifest, and now in sleep it becomes unmanifest. In the waking it becomes manifest. In life it is manifest. When it manifests it is life. When it totally becomes unmanifest, we call it death. And what becomes unmanifest has to become again remanifest. It is called rebirth. So this misconception that I am the form is called adhyasa. And all our problems are due to misconception. We don't have even day-to-day hungers and thirsts and desires, attachments and successes and failures. The entire life is rooted in this misconception. Is a vision that I am the form. Therefore, in this misconception, neither God's will is involved, nor my will is involved, nor some change is involved. There is ignorance involved. I don't look at myself. That is the ignorance. I don't seriously look at myself. Whenever I look at myself in terms of the form, all right. Whenever I look at myself in terms of the form, in terms of the money, in terms of the status, in terms of my emotions, education, etc., etc. But I don't look at myself in terms of myself, the subject of the three states. The one who is aware of the three states. And therefore, once if this is clearly understood, all our cries and miseries and sorrows and complexes, they are not real, they are all rooted in misconception. You get a relief. The very thinking that they are all rooted in misconception, your attachments, they are not only temporary, but they are just rooted in misconception. Not only the dream is temporary, listen to this very well. Not only the dream events are temporary, because when you wake up they end. Even when it is there, it is false. Because it is only dreamt, not it is really there. They are not temporary realities. They are temporary and they are false. Even when they are there, the dream events, they are false. Why? Because they are rooted in the misconception about myself. The dream as well as the waking, both of them are rooted in the misconception that I am a form. This is the topic. And now we are going to see another topic. This is a very terse text. Be prepared for certain terse thoughts, very unfolding thoughts, liberating thoughts, but demand attention. Every liberating thought demands attention. Understand? If we have to do something, it demands attention. It demands reflection. It demands your intellect, your intelligence. It demands attention of your intelligence. It demands your reasoning. And that point is this, you will see. Some people think Tatra kathamadhyapya siddham tadeva chaitanya aikyam angikritya shuktika rajata udaharanamiti prashtavyaha bhavantaha. The author says, it is necessary to ask these people, when awareness is one indivisible entity, there is only one indivisible entity, how does it transform? When ignorance is not something tangible, how does it transform? Because the only thing that we know of to go through transformation is matter. Matter can transform. We don't see ignorance transforming. Ignorance, we see it as distorting a reality. Ignorance causes misconception. Ignorance doesn't really transform and become something. And now, listen to this, see if we can follow what I am saying. You know, in Mandukya Upanishad we saw that Gauna Ekatvam presupposes Mukhya Ekatvam. It's a very useful thought. Wherever there is unbreakable relationship, a relationship is that which cannot be broken. That is called a relationship. All others are associations. If wife and husband are living together, even though societally we call it a relationship, koi baat nahi hai. But otherwise it is a association which can be followed by dissociation. But according to Vedanta, A relationship is that which cannot be broken. Like the eyes and the forms, this relation cannot be broken. Either both appear or both disappear. Senses and the sense objects appear together or disappear together, but it is not possible that in God's creation there can only be senses without sense objects, or there can be only sense objects without the senses. Thought and object, unbreakable. Either both of them are there or neither is there. This is what is called unbreakable relationship. In Sanskrit it is called Gauna Ekatvam. It is a virtual oneness. But both have a common truth, and that is the literal oneness. The point that we have to understand is, I am able to see the form because we are able to see the form, hear the sounds, taste the objects, touch the objects, smell the objects, remember the objects, because my senses and the objects are bathed in the same awareness. Same truth. They have a common truth. If the objects are rooted in one truth, if my senses are rooted in some other truth, they can never come together. My senses can never reveal the sense objects if the senses and the objects were rooted in two separate truths. They can never have an alignment. But now there is alignment. Eyes get aligned to the forms, ears to the sounds, the senses to the objects, the thought to the objects. Why there is effortless alignment between the senses and the objects? Because the senses and the objects are rooted in the same awareness. This only shows that the very perception that is happening, this phenomenon of sense perception proves the oneness of truth, the indivisibility of consciousness. Perception proves the indivisibility of consciousness. Thus the senses and the sense objects are rooted in the same awareness. And we don't have the experience of awareness being many kinds. We don't have the experience like this. The awareness that is conditioned by the mind, and the awareness that is conditioned by the senses, and the awareness that is conditioned by the object, technically called Pramatra Avachanna Chaitanyam, Pramana Avachanna Chaitanyam, Prameya Avachanna Chaitanyam. In this manner do we experience the three bits of consciousness. This is the consciousness that is in my mind, and this is the consciousness that is in the senses, and that is the consciousness that is in the object. I say, Some people say there are three kinds of consciousness. Pramatra Avachanna Chaitanyam, meaning consciousness in the mind, consciousness in the senses, consciousness in the object. And perception is possible because all the three become one. Three never become one. The one is always one. That is why perception is possible. Perception presupposes oneness of consciousness. Perception doesn't unite consciousness. If consciousness is divided, then they need to be united. But the consciousness is never divided. It is like saying, it is amazing, laughable. Break this wall, then that side of the space and this side of the space become one. Is it like that? When the wall is intact, are they not one? Can the wall divide the space? Even though we use the language, it divides the space. It can't divide literally, it can't cut the space into two pieces. If I just cut this table into two pieces, then I am dividing the table. In that manner, can you cut space into two pieces? In fact, the wall is rooted in space. And what is rooted in space can't cut space into two pieces. The wave can't affect water. The wave is an appearance. Appearance can't affect the substance. In the same manner, consciousness cannot be divided by these three appearances called the mind, the senses and the objects. Therefore, perception doesn't unite awareness. Perception is possible due to unity of awareness. Unity, oneness of awareness is not brought about by perception. Perception is itself possible due to oneness of awareness. That I am able to see the world shows the truth of the one who sees and what is seen is the same. If I have a different truth and the universe has a different truth, then I would never see the universe. I am able to see the universe because my truth and the truth of the universe are one and the same. One and the same. That's why here I think I have given a very important, most crucial point. Even scholars skip this point because it's too complicated. छोड़ो, आसान वाला पढ़ो, चलते रहो. जो समझ गया उसी को समझते जाओ, आसान हो जाता है जी. जो समझ गया उसी को फायदा क्या है? Try to understand what you have not understood. जो समझ गया उसी को दोहराने से क्या फायदा? This point. Some of the Purvapakshis, some of the scholars say that perception unites awareness. But perception doesn't unite awareness. Perception is possible because the awareness is united, one, is indivisible. Indivisible. Tatra katham adhyapya siddham tadeva chaitanya aikyamangikritya shuktika rajata udaharanamiti prashtavyaha bhavantaha chaitanyam ekameva. Only one awareness. Tattad upadhi vashat, due to the appearances in it called upadhi. An upadhi is that which appears in a fact without affecting the fact. It's called upadhi. You become the Prime Minister, it creates a notion in you that I am the Prime Minister, but you don't become different person. You are the same person. It causes a false notion, that is called upadhi. An upadhi is that which causes a false notion without changing the reality. An upadhi causes a false notion without changing the reality. That is called upadhi. Like you put on some European dress, you look European, you don't become European. It changes your look, it doesn't change your nature. That is called upadhi. You put on Chinese dress, it makes you look Chinese. What is the name of the Bhutanese dress? Barku. I have seen that. You look Bhutanese. But you don't? Similarly, when I identify with the form, this form is our upadhi, we look a form, we don't become a form. We continue to be conscious. That is why the body is our upadhi. Like the shirt is our upadhi, shirt makes me look little different. A different shirt makes me look different. The body also makes me look. If it is a tall body, I look tall. Short body, I look short. Fair body, I look fair. Dark body, I look dark. Fat, thin, these are all. Young, old, etc. But it doesn't change me. I continue to be aware. In that there is no change. Now I am aware of the waking, now I am aware of the dream, now I am aware of the sleep. So our nature is to be conscious, aware. That's all our nature. Thought is not our nature. Thought we create, thought we are not. We bring about thought, thought is brought about, thought disappears. But the idea of the phenomenon of our being conscious continues. Chaitanyamekam tattadupadhivashat bhinnamiva pratibhasate. Consciousness due to upadhis looks different. Mahakashaha iva, like space. Ghata budanchanadi upahitaha, like space can look as many. This is a room space, this is a pot space, this is a cave space. In this manner, it comes to be described as many spaces, but it remains one. Similarly, consciousness also looks many. It is waking consciousness, it is dream consciousness, it is sleep consciousness, it is my consciousness, it is your consciousness, it is his consciousness, it is body consciousness, it is the consciousness of the world. In this manner, consciousness also comes to be described in many ways, but it remains one. Why? Because mine and thine also are thoughts created in consciousness, not that there is a my consciousness and your consciousness. In sleep, the mindness resolves. In sleep, the thyness also resolves. And therefore, Bhagavan says, Chaitanyamekam tattadupadhivashat bhinnamiva pratibhasate mahakashaha iva ghata bhudanchanadi upahitaha pramana prameya vyavaharecha. At the time of perception, this is called pramana prameya vyavahara. Pramana prameya vyavaharecha. At the time of perception, Pramatra avachinna chaitanyam, Vritya avachinna chaitanyam, Vishaya avachinnam chaitanyam iti cha vibhaktam sat तत्तत् प्रत्यक्ष समये च अभेदतां गच्छति इत्येवं वर्णनं किं चैतन्य ऐक्यं ज्ञानि प्रबोधाय आहोस्वित् तदज्ञानि प्रबोधाय इति वक्तव्यम्. Up to this it means this. Very beautiful. The Siddhanti says this, my dear, these people must be asked this question. They should be asked this question who always think in terms of divisions of consciousness. We should ask them one question, sir. If you say the consciousness conditioned by the mind is different, consciousness conditioned by the seer is different, the consciousness conditioned by the senses is different, and the consciousness conditioned by the object is different, if we are saying, what do you want to prove? That the consciousness is divided or the consciousness is one? What do you want to prove to the world? You want to prove to the world that consciousness is divided. But the Shastra is not meant to convey that the consciousness is divided. The Shastra is meant to convey that the consciousness is one. Objects are divided, both are in with the same awareness. Pot and pot are divided, not space and space is divided. This object is divided from that object. The table is divided from the dais is divided from the table, but both are in the same space. That space is not divided. Senses are different from the objects are different from the senses. We accept. They are two different things, but both of them are in awareness because they are known to me. To be known means to be within awareness. I am aware of my senses, I am aware of my thoughts, I am aware of my individuality, and I am aware of also the objects. Everything I am aware, that means the entire thing is within awareness. This teaching that they want to give, that the awareness is divided and it becomes united in time, what is the purpose of this? Jnani prabodhaya or ajnani prabodhaya? Do you want to convey this to? Convey the unity or convey the disunity? Ityevam varnanam kim chaitanyaikyam jnani prabodhayaho svittad ajnani prabodhaya iti vaktavyam ubhayatapi vyartha prayasaha eva. In either way, their effort is futile. I am trying to explain, make it in a simpler. It's not easy to convey it as it is. I can convey it very easily, but you will just get up and go away. It's tough. I am trying to make it a little palatable. Perception bringing about the unity of consciousness is futile. This theory is absurd. Vyartha prayasaha is wrong. Nahi pratipadyam chaitanyaikyam viditavataha pramanadi nirupana ichha jayate. And the one who understands that the consciousness is indivisible, one form is divided from another form, but both of them are rooted in the same observer. That observer is not divided. One form is divided from another form and another form is divided from yet another form. All forms are divided from one another, but the one who observes all of them is not divided. They are all within the context of the observer. It is awareness. We call it Sakshi. In the Western philosophy they call it observer. We call it Sakshi. It is Chaitanyam. It is one's being. We call it awareness. It is oneself. It is the same awareness plus a form looks like a man. The unlimited, the indivisible consciousness, when it looks at when it takes a form, when he assumes a form, we call it a man. When the same being assumes a cow's form, it is called a cow. Truth plus a cow's form is a cow. Truth plus a bird's form is a bird. Truth plus a human form is a human being. Truth plus an insect form is an insect. Truth plus a snake's form is a snake. Snake is bad, not that the being is bad, that upadhi. Looks. In fact, just as the snake is too frightening for us, we are also too frightening for it. One psalm tells another psalm about the human being. It's a psalm. About human beings. Please understand, all violence is due to only one thing we don't understand. It is the one truth that looks like all living beings. Therefore, here. Thus now I am coming back to the point. This perception that I am the form is not due to any inner transformation. It is not due to God's will. It is not due to any destiny. It is not our destiny to be a form. It is wrong. It is not our destiny to be a form. It is not God's will to be a form. It is not some any inner transformation to look a form. It is my not looking at myself, ignorance, lack of self-education, lack of education about my existence, lack of education. We have education about the natural sciences. We have education about the body. We have education about the hygiene. We have education about our emotions, but there is no education about our existence. Psychology educates us about our emotions, our values. The moral science educates us about morals. But there is no literature that talks about our existence. That is only Vedanta. Are you able to follow? Vedanta talks about our existence, what we are fundamentally. What we are fundamentally. Thus, aviditava nahi pratipadyam chaitanyaikyam viditavata pramanadi nirupana ichha jayate aviditavatastu na kashchidartaha varnanena. All this you can ignore. Pramatra vacchinnam chaitanyam prameya vachinna chaitanyam ityadi vibhagasya durjnanatvattena. This last sentence you can. It is impossible to ever see the awareness being divided. Because every division is rooted in awareness, but not awareness itself gets divided. Amazing thing. Supposing awareness is divided, then that very division has to prove itself through awareness. So that division has to fall within awareness, in which case the awareness becomes undivided. Therefore here Siddhartha is concluding, don't write a theory that awareness is divided. We are all not one awareness divided. We are all one awareness looking different, not become different, no. We are all one awareness looking different. It's one sun reflecting in many pots of water, and each looks different from there, but they're all reflections are one sun. All reflections are one sun. Similarly, all bits of space are all one space. Therefore, it is not that when we say we are all one in God, it's okay, nice phrase, but it should be explained a bit. We have a tradition of explanation. We have not only statements about the truth, but we have a tradition of explanation. That is called the teaching tradition, parampara. This country has a tradition of teaching. Not that you make a straight statement about the truth, then it becomes free for all. Different person, each one interprets it differently, you see. Each one, if there is no tradition of Bharatanatyam, if there are no traditional schools of Bharatanatyam, each one will be doing Bharatanatyam in his own way. But wherever there is Bharatanatyam, it is done properly, most elegantly. Why? Because there is a tradition of Bharatanatyam teaching. There is a tradition of teaching. The music is, the tradition of teaching music is there. The tradition of teaching dance is there. The traditions are there. The traditions of education are there. Similarly, the tradition of unfolding the truth also is there, called Vedanta Sampradayam is there. Therefore, when we make a statement, we are all one in God, the Vedanta can explain away nicely, meaning in actuality we are all one. In our looks we are different, but fundamentally we are the same. You fall asleep, I fall asleep, and we all fall asleep at the same time, along with the Swami. How many of us are there now? The countables become uncountable. You understand, We are all countables now. We look countables in sleep. We are one. Shanti. And you can't count Shanti ji. You can count sounds, but can you count silence? You can't count silence, but you can count on it for your happiness. You can count on silence. Therefore, durjnanatvattena. Just another few minutes. Nahi loke asti anubhava. There is no experience in this world. Nobody experiences in this world. Means it's not available. It's not evident. It's not evident in this world that consciousness is divisible. Nahi loke asti anubhava. Shukti pratyakshavataha shukti avacchinnam chaitanyam maya jnatamiti. There is no experience that the consciousness, the perceiver is one consciousness, senses are one consciousness, shell is one consciousness, silver is another consciousness. When I see a shell, you can't say the consciousness conditioned by the shell is different, the consciousness conditioned by mind is different. There is no experience. I only experience the shell and fail to recognize it and see it as silver. the shell falls within my awareness, and even the distortion of the shell called the silver falls within awareness, in one awareness. Therefore, perception is facilitated, perception is made possible, even distortion in perception is made possible because of the indivisibleness of awareness. Thus, I would like to add here, the very perception of the universe proves oneness of consciousness. If consciousness were not one indivisible whole, if it were not true that everything is rooted in consciousness, I would never know the universe. Because my senses and the objects are all falling within the same awareness, I am able to perceive them, not otherwise. Nahi loke asti anubhavaha shukti pratyakshavadah shuktiyavachannam jedanyam maya jnatamiti. You don't come to see awareness. The one who sees is awareness. You don't see awareness. Nacha vachyam esha tavad vastu sthitihi loke yatha vyavaharahastu mavaiti. And this is called jid. You know, when a person loses in an argument, then he becomes jid. You know, that is it, then becomes angry. And in many families, this is the problem. Even if a person is wrong, he says, "Jo main kahta hu wo karo." ये कैसे जी? ये तो रॉन्ग है जी, वो तो ठीक है जी, जो मैं कहता हूँ. What can you do? How can you live with one another in this world? That is why people are falling apart. Why? Because people don't listen. People don't listen. Education has made people only more and more egoistic, I am telling you. Education without wisdom, education without truth, education that is meant only for making money. Education is all the time preparing you for making money. It is not preparing you to become more and more responsible. Today is a sad day. One of our students, very irresponsible, they divorced from each other. Children got affected, and one of the child this morning at 4 o'clock committed suicide. You know that Kavita, who used to come to our classes? Kavita. Her second son. Why? Don't listen. I told her, you have got divorced, now don't look for another person. Renounce everything and look after the children. Your prarabdham has been bad, but at least you be good. If God has been unkind to you, at least be yourself kind to you. If your prarabdham has been nasty to you, it doesn't matter, but be yourself. You be good. Be good enough to look after your children. Sacrifice everything for the sake of the children. You must have married thousands of times in one life. Supposing your prarabdham is bad, adjust. Adapt yourself as per that prarabdham. You have a bad husband, all right, leave it and then look after your children. At least you be wise enough. No. My individual life. What is your individual life? Once you have children, then you know individual life, then you live for your children. That is the end of it. Live for your children and come to Vedanta classes. Good enough. Father says, I don't want to spend money for their education. Mother says, I don't have money. children feel hurt. We are left alone. They feel orphaned. And one of them jumped up the balcony and died. It is all due to not listening. जिद से कुछ नहीं होता है, जिद से दुख आता है बस. So here the Purvapakshi says, even if it is not within your experience, the division of the awareness, even if it is not within our experience, but still because I am saying it has to be accepted. How? It has to be accepted. Why should it be accepted if it is not evident? What is not evident, why should we accept it? This is going to be the topic which we will see later on. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnavachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.